Hey everyone, Connie here, and we have gotten another episode of Helluva Season 2. Our second episode of the season is here, and this one is called, let me just make sure I get it correctly here, Seeing Stars. And just like with Season 1, this was an episode that focused on the likes of Stolas and Octavia. Um, but other characters got a time to shine too. And I feel like a lot of this episode focused on the idea of father daughter relationships. Um, but we will be going into spoilers here, so just letting you know, we will be talking about pretty much the entire thing. Um, and we'll begin that in 3, 2, 1 now. So, spoilers. Okay. So, first off, we start off with a flashback to Octavia when she was younger. This is the same way that season 1, episode 2 started. We see Stolas telling her a story about these shooting stars. A very specific group of shooting stars that she wants to see. And he promises that when they come around, when it happens again, he will see it with her. Well, it's the time for it to come, but it's the current day now. And as we see, Stella has left the mansion. So Octavia comes trying to remind her dad. It's like, okay, we're gonna go see this, but she finds that he's, getting all of Stella's stuff out of the house and basically yelling at her over the phone while doing so. Octavia is worried they're not going to be able to see the stars like they planned, and Stolas doesn't seem to even remember. So she leaves and sneaks into the Imp headquarters, where she steals the grimoire and uses it. Her goal is to see the stars, but because she's not specifying anything, it takes her to LA in the human world. After Blitz and the rest of Imp realize what's going on and see her leave, they do call Stolas, and together they all have to go to LA to find her. And this is where the main meat of the episode begins, as our group splits up. We kind of have three separate groups that form from this. We have the Team M&M, Millie and Moxie. We have Luna going off on her own. And then we have Stolas and Blitz doing their thing. So, at first they're all together, but through circumstances they get split up. And let's talk about each of them. I'm going to talk about Millie and Moxie first, because that's the one that's kind of the least focused on. So the easiest to get through. So Millie and Moxie at first are following Blitz and them, but end up getting stopped by a guy on the street. He tries to sell them his demo CD. A thing you'll see in real life if you go to cities and stuff. There will be people selling stuff on the streets, trying to get you to buy their demo CD and stuff. And Moxie, being a lover of music and just the artistic expression of musicians making their own stuff, and just artists in general, is exceptionally sold right from the start. So he and Millie start performing around town in order to get money to be able to buy these demo CDs and different art stuff that people are selling on the sidewalks. Just various things like that, which gets them obviously separated from everyone else. But I guess Moxie is having fun because he loves supporting art and artists and everything, which is great, obviously. But Millie is not so into it. She seemed to be more into the mission and is not too fond of this distraction. And that's pretty much their entire thing. At the end, you see Moxie's dragging around this giant bag of stuff, and as they're about to go through the portal back into hell, Moxie's about to get one more mix CD from a guy, but Millie shoots him and then has him go through the portal without any of the stuff. So Moxie didn't even get all his stuff. and that's sad. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is Blitz and Stolas. And that might be surprising because you might have thought, like, oh, we do that, like, first or last because that's the big focus. But it's not the big focus. This is more about Luna and Octavia. And so I want to keep that for last. But the Blitz and the Stolas stuff, it does tie into that, and I do want to cover that as well. Stolas, upon reaching the human world, just like Luna, has a human disguise. And we get to see it, and it's kind of similar to what we've seen a lot of, like, fan interpretations of a human form for him to be. Um, and it's weird, like seeing him in his human form and just hearing the same voice and all. Though it's weird because I'm just so not used to it. Luna, for some reason, it's like hers just works more so, I feel, and it just feels like more connected to her normal Hellhound appearance. To where it doesn't actually like bother me. It doesn't seem to make much of a difference. I can get it right off the bat. Um, but his is just, it's so different. So it throws me off a little more. But yeah, so after the group splits up and everything, Stolas and Blitz are together, and Blitz ends up getting mistaken for Brennan Ragers, which I laughed out loud when that was said. Because, I mean, obviously we know he's voiced by Brendan Rogers. So it's like when they said Brennan Ragers, I legitimately laughed out loud. That was one of the funniest jokes I had heard in this series. And that's saying a lot because this series is full of actually really great jokes. So it was maybe because it was just so unexpected for me. But he gets mistaken for him. He's an influencer who became a TV celebrity and stuff. So he's taken to the set of this TV show. Stolas going along with him. And he's supposed to be performing, but he ends up going off script and doing his own thing, ad-libbing, basically. And obviously going a little far with it. Stolas tries to cheer him on from the audience, and it just goes on with Blitz just being ridiculous and the audience kind of losing track of him. But then it gets to a part where he's like, he has this like dog, and he's thinking of adopting the dog out, which I guess is probably part of the script. And as he's doing so, we have a flashback to when he adopted Luna. And this was something I always wanted to see. So when that flashback started and I realized what was going on, I legitimately started to tear up. Just preemptively, because I knew that this was going to get to me. And it's like, so I was preemptively tearing up. And then once when we saw like it continue and everything, it's like, so he's at a Hellhound adoption agency, and it's more like an animal adoption situation. Like they're all in these cages and all like animals, and they're all like, they're all basically dogs or wolves or whatever. And Blitz is going through a couple different ones with the lady in charge, who also is a Hellhound, which is kind of weird. But I assume it's more in tone to a child adoption, but they're also kind of making it like compared to a dog adoption too, simply because of the joke, the idea of that, which I get and everything. It's just, it's a little confusing maybe. But he gets to Luna's cell. He asks who she is, and he's like, "Oh, that." And the woman's like, "Oh, that's Luna. She's a troublemaker. You see, she beats up her cellmate and everything." But then it shows Luna backing away to the corner of the bench and everything, and she's crying, and it's like, it's basically like the lady in charge is like saying how she'll like never be loved or whatnot, and it's like it's like, yeah, I'm crying. Yeah. because it's like there's been implication towards Luna and everything, and there's even been a couple moments where she has even appreciated Blitz and everything before, but it's like this is adding a whole new layer to it, and it's we see how Blitz chose to adopt her to save her from that clear pain she was in, this misery she was in. And so he goes back to the current day and he realizes, and he's now comparing the dog in the show to, Luna. And he's like, I can never let you have her. I can never let anyone else have her. And everything. And it's really precious, actually. um, but he goes crazy and starts like attacking the people and getting really like ridiculously defensive. It ends up causing this big chaos with the station burning down and shit. People getting shot up and killed. And so he and Stolas have to escape together. And they do. And that leads into how it kind of connects into the other storyline. So let's talk about the other one now. So Luna gets separated from Blitz and Stolas when they're taken by the producer of the show and everything. And after that, she just starts to kind of wander around town until she starts to see Sinstagram posts, which it's like every time one of these shows does an Instagram pun and everything, it's like, oh my god, like Owl House did it, now this is doing it. But yeah, she keeps seeing posts by Octavia, so she starts following around and trying to find her based on the posts, the photos she's taking with the different landmarks and all. She's going around to these different landmarks and eventually does find her. She finds her hanging out at this observatory and confronts her about it. And Octavia tells her like about the plans that they had and the fact that it seems like Stolas, her father, is more focused on hating her mom than he is on loving her, which is a really, really heavy line, by the way. And Luna is actually the one to say something here and calm her down. Basically saying that, yeah, sometimes fathers can get on your nerves, can be a little annoying, can bother you, but they're there for you. And she's even kind of standing up for Blitz here, and it's like you're kind of seeing that she does value and is thankful towards Blitz for giving her family, for giving her love. Even if she's not a very like huggy, touchy-feely kind of girl and isn't super into a lot of the ways that Blitz shows his affection. Like, we see that she genuinely is thankful for him for doing so. So they end up reuniting with Blitz and Stolas. Stolas apologizes, and they end up watching some fireworks together rather than going to see the stars. And all is good. It ends off on a very positive, happy note. But again, it goes into Millie and Moxie heading back and adds in the little comedic element too. There was a very short song in this, and it was just Millie and Moxie performing on the street. It was very short, not much to it. It was cute though. It was nice. Them being like the cutest couple as always. And a lot of this centered around Stolas and Octavia's relationship, as well as even Blitz and Luna's. Just the idea of these father-daughter relationships to each other, and how they're viewed, and how issues can arise sometimes. But that doesn't mean that the father doesn't love the daughter. And yeah, it looks different for everyone. For Luna, their relationship is obviously very different than Stolas and Octavia's. And there's a lot of things going on between these characters as well, these other combinations we saw. Stolas and Blitz, for example, like, despite everything that happened between them before, Stolas is still showing that he continues to love Blitz. He hasn't given up on him. And Blitz is just continuing on as if everything's the same as always. We know this stuff is going to have to be addressed with what happened before and all. But for right now, things are kind of moving along. And then Octavia and Luna form a little bit of a friendship here. Through their talking and everything, they bond and connect. And we even see, after Octavia gives the book back to Luna, she hugs her, thankful for helping her out. And Luna reciprocates it. Luna is fully, like, accepting of it. Something she obviously wouldn't be towards Blitz or most others. It shows that she understands. And that she gets it. She wants to be there for Octavia. And whether you see that as friends or whether you want to ship them is completely up to you. They're a few years apart, but my issue, obviously, with that is that Octavia is, I believe, 17, and Luna is, I think, 22, I want to say it was. It was over drinking age, I know that for sure. So that's obviously an issue. But you know how the fandom is. They'll ship anyone, even if that character already is canonically with someone. Or is canonically asexual. / aromantic. But yeah. Either way, this was a really good episode. It had really strong emotion. It definitely gave us some stuff that we've wanted to see, again, with the adoption with Luna and everything. It had some good comedy to it, some ridiculousness. The characters were top form. The only thing I could see anyone, like, complaining about is the fact that it really didn't touch on Blitz and Stolas's issues that came into play with last season. Like, the first episode kind of touched on that a little bit. And delved into their past together. But this one really didn't. And it kind of went to them acting, like, as they've always acted towards each other for the most part. So there really not much has seemingly changed, but that might have been because of the urgency of the situation, with Octavia running off with the book and everything. So that might have been the reason, and then all the other circumstances that occurred while they were in the human world. So yeah. Either way, I really enjoyed this one. As usual, don't know when the next one's going to come. I think it's only been a couple months, though. I think it was it June or July when the last one came out? Either way, let's just say it was June. That's been 4 months. So 3 to 4 months, somewhere in that range. So we might have another one in January, maybe? February? Something like that. If it takes just as long again. I would love if they could step up the production and get it out a lot quicker, but you can't obviously just assume that to happen, and you can't just force that. There's a reason it takes so long, you know. I would love for it to happen, but I would not want them to force it out, like, unfinished, or, you know, just not at the high quality we want it to be. But yeah. Either way, tell me in the comments below, what did you think of this episode of Helluva Boss Season 2? And thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.